I've been very vocal about one struggle that I went through in life, that being a Jehovah's Witness and kind of deconstructing the programming, the mind control, the guilt belief system that I was stuck in under that portion of time of my life. But what I don't really share here on social media is that is just one struggle that I went through. I've been quiet about other things in my life, but I think it's time now to share more because when we open up, when we are vulnerable, and I think that's the scariest thing of all, right? They say that the number one fear in the world is public speaking, but when you get deeper than public speaking, what is underneath that is fear of being judged, fear of really being vulnerable and not being accepted. And so being vulnerable is something that I talk about with a lot of my coaching clients, especially, but I have to be vulnerable as well. And so as I step into this next chapter of my life, I really want to share more stories with you, more life lessons, life experiences, and I hope that it inspires you to perhaps look back at certain events that have happened to you and see what you have gained from it, how you have grown from it, how that has made you, in fact, who you really are now. And in hopes that it will also help you move into the role of the observer. And what I mean by that is that we can tend to get stuck in this mentality of victimhood. And it's not something that anyone wants to identify with, especially when you've done work around your circumstances, your issues, or if you've gone through therapy or done these things to help yourself. Sometimes it's hard to acknowledge, hey, you know what? I'm really thinking in a victim way right now. Um, but these things are going to always present themselves to you in life. You know, life is not perfect. There's always going to be struggles, there's always going to be obstacles. But in my opinion, the road to self mastery is not about living in this la la land of, only positive things happen to me. It's about building your mindset so that you really are the creator of your life. But when struggles do happen, when life happens, you're able to bounce back so much quicker. And I see it in my relationship. I see it in my parenting. I see it in my career and everything that I do, that the stronger I become, the better I am able to serve. And so I wanted to share something about the person that was probably the most influential person in my life. That is my great grandmother, who I've spoken about in a few videos before. But I was fortunate enough to have the first 17 years of my life with my great grandma. Now, she was first generation in America from Sicily. She was a Scorpio. I don't know what her other placements are. She was a strong, badass woman. She was not the sweet, kind, she was kind, yes, but she wasn't like the sweet old lady that you might think of. Yes, she did crochet and she did lots of old lady things that I do myself, but she had this strength to her. She was not afraid to tell me I was wrong, and she was my person. So, it's unfortunate that I got kind of the worst of my parents, and that's not their fault. That's not my fault. That's not anyone's fault. But growing up with only one parent in the home, and so let me just give you a little bit of backstory. My father and my mother got divorced when I was about 3 years old. It was me and my brother. My dad left and went to Florida. I was lucky enough to hear his side of the story when I became an adult, and I understand. I get it. They we're not right for each other. And I'm not going to share what's not really my business to share, but my dad was not in the home. And my mom, my mom had just lost her brother, who was like 9 years younger than her. He was only 17 years old, and he died in a horrific car crash. And so basically, my family was all together to christen me because my mom was not a Jehovah's Witness yet. She actually never got baptized. She just raised me and my brother to be witnesses, and I was the only one who ended up getting baptized. But that's a different story. Um, I was getting baptized as an infant, and my uncle, my mom's brother, who was 17, was my godfather. And just a few short days after my baptism, he passed in a car accident. And so basically within 1 week of time, my family was in the same church one day to celebrate and the next day basically to mourn. And so that was when my mom was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And there's been a lot of other things that have come up since. I'm not even really convinced that that is the proper diagnosis for her, but at the time, that's what she was diagnosed with. So she was going through the loss of her brother. Um, my father and her splitting up and him moving to Florida when we were in New York. And so she was a single mom. She was struggling. We did not have money. We grew up very lower class, getting, government assistance and all of those things that then I was, not very proud of. But I've definitely grown so much and learned so much from the experiences and the struggles really that we had. Not always having enough, food on the table and nice clothes that we were proud of at that age. And, those things that children want and sometimes don't get. But the point is that you only need one person in your life. And sometimes that one person is not even your family member. Sometimes it's a teacher or, uh, I don't know, whoever it may be, some kind of mentor or somebody, but you really just need one person to believe in you. And so I did not feel connected to my mom. I did not feel wanted. I did not feel loved. These are all things that I've worked through in hypnosis. And I speak to my mom. I have a relationship with her. Um, I recognize that I did not get the best of her. And that kind of sucks for her as well as for younger me. Um, but I can understand now and empathize with her. And I know where my boundaries are and where they need to stay and where I can have a relationship. And for some people watching, they may have been through things that it's not possible to have a relationship. And there should not be any guilt around that. But I had that one person, and that was my great grandma, my person who took me in, who I spent every weekend with, every summer, every winter break, basically any time that I did not need to be in school the next day, I was with her. And I got to experience a childhood because of the time that I spent with her. And what I love most as I reflect back on my younger years is that she had my back to the end. I mean, she was not afraid to stick up for me to my own mother. Um, but what she would do after was really kind of mind blowing as I look back at it. She had my back, she would stick up for me, but then she would pull me aside after all was said and done and we were by ourselves. She would also call me out on things that I was wrong about or I should not have said or done. Um, I was the rebel, I guess you could say, in my household. I was, I didn't realize then, but I was extremely intuitive. And so I knew when my mom was, not maybe telling the truth, or I could just see through a lot of things that I shouldn't have been able to at that age. And so I would talk out of place. I would talk as if I was, her equal or even her superior. And that's not okay as a kid. And so my grandmother would call me out and say, you shouldn't have said that. You shouldn't have done that. That's not okay. Um, and she would give me stories of hope, when I would vent to her or cry to her or whatever it was. she would always tell me that you're going to make this better one day. You're going to be a better mom. You're going to be a better wife, a better this, a better that. Not that it was a competition, but she was giving me hope that I could set this straight one day by breaking this cycle, by passing on love and connection and a healed person to then step into motherhood, to be a mother to my unborn children at that time. And she would tell me that one day you're going to meet this fella and you're just going to have the best family. And as I'm saying this now, the best is probably not the right verbiage, because I feel like it kind of sets an undertone of competition, but it really gave me hope in my soul that this was not going to last forever, even though it felt like it at the time. And so it makes me think, this morning I was driving my toddler to school, and I was stopped behind a school bus, and I'm watching all the kids go on the bus, and I see this one mother come out and see her little boy get on the bus and wave goodbye, and I see her walk back in her house, and I'm still in the car waiting, and then I see her toddler come out from behind the house pushing this little truck, and he's by himself. And I couldn't move. It was time to go, and there was someone behind me, and I quickly pulled over, turned my car around really quick so that I can watch this little boy and make sure he was okay. I was about to actually pull over, get out of the car, and and walk him in, to the front door. But I didn't have to. The mother came out. I guess she realized that he must have somehow snuck out or whatever. But it's because of, I think, the upbringing that I have gone through, and because of the impact that my grandmother made on me, I have this mentality that I want to just help. Not that I was going to be a mentor to this little kid, but if God forbid this little boy, really did happen to get out of the house and now is on a road, no one else stops. Everyone just keeps going. And it doesn't have to be this example, but when is the universe giving you an opportunity for you to stop and just make sure someone else is okay? When are you given an opportunity to be that person, that voice, to tell someone, hey, I believe in you? Maybe it's for your own kids. Maybe it's for students of yours. Maybe it's for your friends' kids, or who knows when these situations will come up for you. But I love that I can look back and learn from my experiences and really be the pattern breaker. And yeah, I'm just kind of curious, I guess, if you had at least one person in your life that made you believe in yourself, that made you believe in your dreams, that gave you hope that things were going to be okay one day, and that you can make your own way and not have to follow in the footsteps of those that came before you, that you can pave your own path, make it look however you want it to look, paint it whatever colors you want to paint it, and you get to decide who's on that path with you, and there's no guilt and there's no regret and there's no shame in your choices, as long as you are doing it from your heart. So I know that this was a bit of a rant, but if you made it this far, tell me, did you have that one person, or are you that one person, or at least open to being that one person? Let me know. And I will see you again on the next video.